we are going to take a look at the mental ray. Not so much, a little bit of the settings, but we're going to take a look at the shaders as well. Now, when you're dealing with mental ray, you have to work with a lot of different little pieces. So, to get us started, I've just made a simple cube here. Nothing too complex. And then I'm going to go ahead and make a little base plane to put things on. There we go. Kind of pull that on out. This is to give some area for shadowing and such. And I also will go ahead and make an area light, just because they're really easy to deal with in terms of lighting something with mental ray. And we'll go ahead and expand that on out. Now the bigger the area light, the more light it gives off. So if we go to sort of light mode, you can see it's pretty intense, right? But that's okay. Let's go ahead and open our outliner and name that real quick. Main light. I'm also going to make a secondary light by duplicating this one. And we'll call this one the backlight. Now there's a lot of light in here. Move this out to the side for the moment. Let's go ahead and kick that down a bit. Something like I don't know, 0.6, and the backlight could probably be a 0.1 or something really low. And real quick, let's just take a look. I do have mental ray on. Oh yes, the backlight, we want to turn off shadows. So we'll go to shadows, we'll turn off the ray trace. Main light, we'll leave them on for now. And then under settings here, we'll go to quality, and it's at 0.25. The neat thing about mental ray is, if you're just trying to do some quick lighting setups and just want to do a nicer render than the standard Maya render, it's really easy to just kind of tweak this quality button and maybe mess with some of the filtering and maybe some of the indirect lighting modes. But none of this is necessary. I mean, it's really easy is what I mean. It's not necessary to necessarily turn on global illumination or final gather, but it does add a quality if you have the right kind of lighting setup. And then there's the legacy options, which are a bunch of old school settings that I'm more used to. And those are really good if you really want to get into kind of caustics and adjusting global illumination, and there's photon mapping and tracing that you can mess with in the final gather setup down here. But they've made it really easy to just sort of mess with these initial ones. So if you're not really way in depth with the mental ray, you can just keep to these quality settings. Let's see here. Yeah, of course the light has all sorts of settings as well to like set up photons, but we're not going to mess with any of that right now. We're simply going to set our quality to a 0.25 or maybe a 0.5, but it's fine where it is. These don't need anything in particular. The presets, I would probably set it to something like HD 720 or 1080. For render purposes, let's make it 720. And let's give it a render real quick just to see what we get. So, as you can see, that light, pretty strong. Render time is pretty low, 5 seconds. And the shadows are all sorts of a mess. So let's go ahead and now you can mess with decay. I'm not going to in this example, but that will try and emit light in a different manner. I am just going to go ahead and actually, you know what? Let's rotate this box just slightly so I get a little of that backlight on there. And main light. I'm going to kick that on down even more to a 0.2. I think we can turn that backlight down too then to a 0.08 or something like that. And let's save this just so we can compare, and we'll render another one. There you go, it's a lot softer. Now, if you really want to fix the shadows, you can go in here and adjust the ray limits to something completely different. I'm going to kick it up to sort of a 6 and 18 and see. That will render it out. We'll save this again. That will render out those shadows a lot softer. See, they're less blasting all over. Same with the quality, when you up the quality in the settings. But this is pretty good for now. It's doing what we want. You see a little bit of gradient and things look nice. So let's go ahead and dive on into the shaders. And you've seen a lot of the other shaders. I've talked about those. But there are mental ray shaders as well. And I'm only going to touch on probably 3 of them, because a lot of them are sort of like a succinct or speed or various types. Like you've got a car paint shader, which you can use. So if we apply that one and we go and we look at sort of the settings for it, there are a lot of things you can adjust. You've got ambient, a base color. This is kind of where you would set in whatever kind of maybe details you want, like if the car had like pinstripes and such like that. Edge color, which is sort of what happens as it falls off. Bias, like kind of the weight of it. The lit color, which is like if light is hitting it. The idea being that you can get these, you get a lot of variety out of this. So if I change this to like blue, it'll be really evident. And then let's do a real quick render. But yeah, you can see how I'm not getting a direct hit from the light because I toned my light down. Actually, probably wouldn't hurt to turn this back into a sphere. Unless I really want to move around. Let's see what happens. Like this. There you go. You can see a lot of that specular parameters. We've also got flakes in it. These flakes are kind of small. You can change the weight and the density and the decay and the scale. So if I put it down to like a 0.05 or something like that, these should be smaller. Yeah, see? Kind of scales them on down. You can see sort of this fall off on the edges. It's very fuzzy. We'd have to turn up the quality. Like if we take this all the way up to say 2, you're going to see a pretty big change. Also, there's not a lot out here. There's a lot of empty space. You're going to see, look at that, shadows cleaned up quite a bit. Let's go ahead and I will actually put a sphere in there just to do a comparison. And let's attach the paint to it. Let's see what happens when we get a render here. Yeah, you see them all a lot. There's that blue. a lot more fall off, and then a lot of reflectivity from this base up at it. It's basically trying to reflect this. The card paint's kind of a weird one. It's very cool, but it requires a lot of tweaking, just like most of these materials. And it's supposed to be like a very shiny surface, and it's supposed to be very kind of impressive. That these flakes need to be even smaller, or the object needs to be bigger. There's a lot of size and scale issues when it comes to using these, because it's assuming that there's like a certain scale setup. Let's see, this flake color is boring. I wonder what happens if we make it something cool, like yellow. They'll just be really yellow. They should be a little more yellow. Got some of that blue from the lit color, the base ambient. You can tone down reflections so it's not as strong. Reflection color is white. Weight is 1, so if you take this down to 0.2, for example, it's going to be a lot less. We'll say this. Reflective, it'll just be like a duller reflection. Still feels pretty intense. It's killing some of it. Reflection edge weight. Base weight. Let's turn this down to like a 2. And we'll make this a 0.08. Yeah, it's becoming a little more dull compared to like this, which was very clearly showing the floor. This one's less so. And you can keep toning that down. You could remove a lot of the weight in general. Let's take a look at another shader though. Have the light running, kind of chugging everything. Maya material is another cool one. If you attach this, you'll get sort of a general generic sort of a... did it get attached? There you go. Sort of a generic shiny orb, kind of like the paint in a lot of ways. But the cool thing about the Maya material is it has a bunch of presets that you can use. So let's say I replace that with copper, right? Now I've got essentially a functionally copper object. You see that it gets a little rougher on some of the aspects, a little more dull in its reflectivity. But you also have something like, say, chrome, which is super reflective. Like extra reflective. Everything else is kind of dark. It reflects everything. It's even got the 2 lights shining. You can adjust a lot of these settings: color, reflectivity, reflection, refraction. The best thing to do is to find something that works as close to what you want and then tweak it. This is frosted glass. Which is a lot trickier because it tries to do a refraction, which is the bending of light as an image shines through. But it also does an overall fuzzing to everything so that it's pretty rough and chunky. So you don't see through it a whole lot. You just see kind of through it. Very kind of cool, cloudy kind of crystal ball effect. Versus, say, thick glass or glass solid or glass physical. There's a lot of different little ones here. If you did glass thick, for example, you're going to see a lot of distortion of the light. And if there was like an object back here, it would be also distorting that, which is what refraction is. So if I put let's make a little cone, and let's make it kind of big but short. We'll set it over here somewhere. And now, let's go ahead for fun. Let's make that cone have the car paint on it, just so we know, we can tell if we see something red. So now if we do another render here with, like, say, thick glass, or thin, or any of the glass, all the glasses will do, like, a distort effect. Oh man, yeah. It's distorting so much you don't even see it at this point. Like, it's not even there. Because it's bending the light. So let's say we put it over here. We may or may not see it. We might not see it at all, like right behind it, because it's going to be refracting the light to a point where we're seeing sort of like the edge of surfaces over here. Let's put it back here and see what happens. You can see it there, but the light's bending so heavily from the thick glass. No. Let's do thin glass then. Alright, so if we grab this and we go to preset glass thin, it's not as much refraction and bending, so it should be easier to see it. Yeah, there it is. It's already there. It's like it pretends like this glass is just like a single little crystal ball piece, like a snow globe kind of thing. Does a little bit of distortion, but not much. Anyway, you can see there's all these different fun ones to play with. Pearl, rubber, glazed ceramic. So you've got a lot of different options, and then you can go in and tweak them and lay in your maps like you want under color and reflection kind of setups and stuff, which makes it really cool. And then there's also subsurface scattering, but I think that maybe I'll need another video going into that because that one's a little more complex. So basically, here's two Maya materials with a bunch of other presets so that you can do all sorts of different material sets, metals and ceramics and glass and car paint, copper, stuff like that. The subsurface scattering is much more for like flesh or soft cloth or like cheeses, anything that light will penetrate and that will have an effect that the penetrating of light will give a soft diffuseness or soft glow to the object in some way. Candle wax, that kind of stuff. So that might be a separate one that I'll do then. For now, here you go with some mental ray and some mental ray shaders.